My name is Helle. I'm the vocalist of the Ukrainian melodic metal band Ignea, and you're listening to the Brutally Delicious podcast.
Hi, I'm Bruce. That's my partner, Chris Ignea.
Hi, do you see me? Do you hear me?
Yeah, loud and clear.
Hi, Helen. Good to have you.
Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
You guys, Chris, you want to jump in first, or Rena?
Okay, so just so the listeners know, this was a last-minute fill-in podcast. I didn't even know that you were going to be on until 30 minutes ago. So, however, having said that, as soon as I found out, I looked it up, and I see that you guys are in Kyiv. And my first thought is, holy fuck. I can't even imagine. So how are you guys doing? How are things for your band? How are things for your family? Your friends?
You know, it's the most complicated question because the situation changes like all the time. And for example, 3 weeks ago, we still had Russian troops near our city. And for example, this place, Bucha, that was like a blood massacre. Mm-hmm. It's like 20 kilometers from where I'm staying at right now. Oh. Yeah, but right now, like, it's a bit surreal because our city is getting back to life as much as it can. And but in the east, the battles are still on. We still have air raid sirens every day all over Ukraine. So anytime a missile can hit our home or us, you know, it's just it's a full-scale war, and each of us is just trying to adapt. Each of us is trying to fight as we can. And right now we're just grateful that we are alive, that our families are alive, but we never know what comes tomorrow.
Well, I've cried so many times seeing the images come out of Ukraine, and I can't even imagine. I don't know anyone there, and it's affecting me that way. So I can't imagine how it affects the people that are living there. And I'm going to cry right now talking about it, so I'm going to stop. But the images that I saw coming out of Bucha was something that I can't even talk about, really. So
yeah, the problem is like Bucha has become very famous, but the thing is, like, apart from Bucha, there are so many places affected the same. It's just, you know, it came into the spotlight somehow, but even small cities around Bucha, they were hit even harder. And if we take Mariupol, for example, huge city, like, it's still under the blockade. And, you know, they only estimate like the number of people, of civilians killed at 20,000 at the moment, but it's just impossible to count. So it's still ongoing. You know, and you said that you cried. And for example, I haven't shed a single tear since the beginning of this war. And most of my friends also haven't, because we just have to pull ourselves together, because otherwise, like, we will all go nuts, and it won't help. Like, you know, we as civilians, we're just trying to help the army as much as we can. And even they are saying that we just have to, you know, if we can, we have to work, because when we work, we pay our taxes and our army gets more financing. This is the most important thing right now. If we stay sane and if we help each other, they also, like, it's better for them. So this is what we're trying to do. I think that all the tears, you know, the therapy is going to be after the war if we survive. And this is what we are trying to do. And even, for example, with the band, we were in the middle of recording our new album when the war started. And before, it was even impossible, to meet each other because of the situation in the region. But now, for example, we are back on track. We're trying to finish the album, and tomorrow I'll be recording the growls at the studio, for example. So we're just trying to do something, what we can, and just keep donating to the army, raising awareness, raising funds, and everything. Yeah.
Growl day in the studio is always the best day.
It's got to be therapeutic, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I have to say that, in the beginning of the war, I couldn't listen to music at all. And a lot of us couldn't. Also because you are always trying to hear what is happening outside, because you have to distinguish, a missile from a helicopter, from artillery, because you have to just stay safe and cautious. That's why, any sound of music was unacceptable at all. Wow. After that, we started listening. For example, I live together with our keyboardist, and we just realized we couldn't go to sleep without any sound, at least maybe some ambient sound, because you are freaking out all the time because, yeah. But then, for example, we've got a Patreon page, and because people were donating a lot of, helping us and the army, I just wanted to sing something for them. So I took, an acoustic guitar, what I had back then, and I was singing. And then only a month after, I realized that I haven't growled at all, and I still need to record the growls. And really all the hatred, I have in me, it really helps so much to growl now. Although the album isn't related to war at all. It's a concept album we wrote before the war has started. But the growls are really much better now because of the situation and the feelings that I have right now.
Sure.
I imagine so. I can't growl, but I think if I was in your situation, I'd be pretty good at it. and if you're a trained growler, I can't even imagine. I want to hear it now. So you said you have a Patreon page. Where do people go to find that?
You can simply go to patreon.com and enter Ignea. You will find it right away. Or you can go to our website, ignea.band, and you will find all the links to the Patreon page. We've been actually running it for over 3 years, and it's like our place that has become, quite successful because we really have very supportive listeners from all over the world. And we also decided to use this platform since the first day of the war. We made a public post that we update every day about the situation in Ukraine from the epicenter of events, because there are so many news, are this war is super dynamic. And sometimes when they publish the news, it's already outdated. And because we're here and because we get information sometimes even from our friends who are fighting on the front line, that's why we're just, more aware of what's happening. So that's why, there is tons of content that can be accessed by our patrons only. But this post is for everyone. So doesn't matter if you're a subscriber or not. We just want to spread the truth. That's one of our ways, because the Russian propaganda is doing a lot of other things, and sadly some people truly believe that, and we just have to fight on the informational front as well.
Right.
Yeah, this is a really tough subject because I'm in Finland actually. Okay. So we are another neighboring country of Russia, currently, knees deep in the NATO discussion, whether we should join. And It's pretty obvious that we're gonna, I don't think what asshole Putin thought was gonna happen, when he invades a sovereign country in goddamn Europe. And and of course we're gonna, so now we're actually expecting an attack. On
Yeah,
that.
I know, because Russia has already threatened Finland, and Sweden, I believe, and
Right.
Baltics. Yeah, I know. It's just, I hope that, right now they're losing a lot of their powers because of the battles in Ukraine, because our soldiers are fighting really good. So I hope that they just won't have any strengths and means to attack you guys.
Well, that would.
We actually are going to cancel our shows in Finland for May tomorrow, because we still are not able to leave the country. Like, the guys are not able because of the general mobilization. Until the very last moment, we were hoping that we would make it, but it's really very unlikely. We still, like, all our airports are bombed. We really, even if the war stops before May 11th, we won't be able, to reach Finland very soon. So we just
So you guys were supposed to be here in like a couple days. Where were you supposed to play?
We were supposed to play in Helsinki and Tampere on May 11th and 12th. So, and actually, those shows have been postponed for 3 times now because of the COVID first. Yeah, so yeah, we were very much looking forward to it, because for some reason we have a lot of listeners in Finland. And for example, if you take Spotify, Helsinki has been our top city for over 3 years now. Even outcoming, Mexico and, like, huge cities for some reason. So yeah.
That is cool. And
Yeah,
like, okay, so we're just gonna postpone once more, and then I'm definitely showing up for the Helsinki show.
Yeah, well, actually, we spoke to the promoter, and he said that, of course, we're canceling right now, but as soon as you guys can come, we will arrange it, so
Yeah.
So we just yeah.
And like, when you said that, some people believe the propaganda, and some people, it's a really tricky question, because actually, and it hits very close to home, because my son, who is 5 years old, has a Russian last name. And, the whole, like, where do we place the blame here? Because a lot of people say that this is Putin's war, you shouldn't be blaming ordinary Russians, and so on and so on. But I disagree a little, there would be no war unless the people allow for the war to happen. There can be no war if the people say that, fuck you, we're not doing this. And then on the other side, of course, like, you can't blame people just for the sake of a name that they have, and clearly, like, just racism was a thing before this. So when I was naming my son and giving him his father's last name, I had to think about whether he would be disadvantaged, like in the working markets or whatever, because of his last name. And now I have to think about whether he's in physical danger because of his name.
That's, for us, especially for Ukrainians, it's a complicated question, because we were very strict. From the very start, we emphasized that this is not a Putin's war. This is like the Russians attacked us. And the thing is, if you take everything that happened in Bucha, it was done by Russian people. It wasn't done by Putin. All this rape, all these tortures, everything. And, we're living in the 21st century. A lot of things have been recorded on video and audio. So there is so much evidence, And also, when people say that, for example, the Russians who are sitting at home, that they are not to blame, but they elected Putin, they are still supporting him, because, again, there are so many surveys and so many evidences. They go to the streets in Russia, they're marching with these Z signs, which are nearly Nazi, and they are supporting, like, everything that is happening here. So, and again, if they were against it, they would protest. And again, when people say that we don't protest because we are afraid for our lives and everything, again, in Ukraine, when we protested, we had over 1 million people on the streets only in Kiev, which is like 3 million people population. Moscow is over 12 million. So of course they can arrest you when there are like 100 people. But if the Russians really truly didn't support Putin, they would just go to the streets with 1 million or even, even 1,000 people. It's harder to arrest 1,000 people. So,
Right.
Yeah.
I completely agree. I'm with you 100%. And I find it a little disturbing that we're just like excusing responsibility for the people who are indeed enabling it. And it's not just like, the war, but you should be smarter, because it's not just like what sort of damage is being done, but the I don't know what the word is in English, but like the financial restrictions or whatever, like
sanctions.
Put on. Yeah. Sanctions, yes, sanctions. Thank you. Is affecting everybody, and like this is destroying the Russian economy. Like they are going to go bankrupt eventually. Russia is destroying their entire economy.
Yeah, but will anyone be alive by the time that happens?
Right, yeah. But even if they don't care or support the war, you should be fucking smarter and understand that now something is happening that is destroying your entire life, even if you don't give a shit about the lives of the Ukrainian women, children, men, mothers, fathers, sisters, brothers, that, just be smart, selfish at least. So like, to me, this is,
again, because like, it's the 21st century. We're listening to so many even phone calls happening between, Russian soldiers and people like their relatives in Russia. We really understand day by day. They don't care even about their sons, So it's insane. And especially when everybody's saying that Ukrainians and Russians are like brothers and sisters, it's like it's not the situation, and it's haven't been so for hundreds of years, because Russia always tried, to absorb Ukraine and many other countries. We are so much different from Russians. We really are closer to people from Poland, for example. I mean, we're so much European compared to the mindsets of Russians. It's really insane.
Yeah. One thing I've really, really appreciated about Ukrainians, like, for instance, I develop audio software, and I was like, okay, I'm building this new plugin. I need to find graphics. And I started Googling around, and I came across this company from Ukraine, and they design graphics for every major audio company on the planet. Like, I had no idea. I didn't know. Like, if you use Auto-Tune, that interface is designed in Ukraine. If you use Slate Digital, that's designed in Ukraine. Like, all of this stuff I didn't know. So I reached out to them, and they sent me they have this other site where they make these pre-made kind of user interface kits, and they're selling them to support the army. And I was just like, that's one company, but that's what everyone's doing. If they can somehow win this war, they will, no matter what the cost. And like, I know a lot of people have left Ukraine, but not if you look at the total population versus the amount that have left, a lot of people are staying, and they're not like they're, maybe the fear is there, but they're standing up in a way that's inspiring. And I really have no other way to say it. And I wish that there was something I could do, but I don't know.
Even Ukrainians are surprised about how much everybody united around this cause, because before, Ukraine is a huge country with a lot of people, and we, sometimes we have our arguments between us, especially between like the western part and the eastern part, again, because the eastern part was somehow influenced by Russia and everything. But from the very first day, everyone united so much, and literally people are giving like their last money to the army or to the volunteers or to the people who are in need. Especially, there are so many homes of people destroyed right now, and so people host each other. And it's like all the companies, all the people are trying to donate at least some percentage of their income. And that's why it's like the national fight,
Right.
And about, if you take the people who left the country, it's mostly, women and elderly with children. And actually for the army, it's even better because, it's easier to take care of things here when all these vulnerable people are in a safe place.
Absolutely.
And, so nobody's blaming them. It's even easier. And sometimes when the army or the government realizes that a certain region is going to be occupied, they even ask people to leave because it's easier for the army to fight. Well, we learned so much about the military over the past
Sure.
months. You cannot even imagine. Like before, I was a person who wasn't even reading the news under normal times because I'm so far away, from the politics and stuff. But we just we realized that it's impossible to stay away from this, especially when I don't know, for example, in the beginning of the war, there was quite a small missile that hit a place near me. I was standing not that far away, and parts of that missile, they were hitting the floor like 2 meters from me. And it was just an ordinary day, and that's why you just realize that it's a fight of all Ukrainians. And at this point, it's also a battle of Europe as well, because it's very simple. If we don't win this war, they will go further. And of course, there is NATO and everything. But if NATO starts fighting, it's going to be the third world war.
Yeah.
With all the nuclear stuff again, because Russians, they say that they could be using it. They don't even, trying to hide it.
Right.
So that's why everybody should do at least something, And I always say that if you cannot help, financially, and it's understandable because, again, sanctions are affecting the world economy. Of course. But again, there are so many protests happening all over the world. And it's really important because we need all these heavy weapons to fight our territories back. And they are given by the governments. So when people protest, it affects the governments. Spreading truth, super important, because again, the Russian propaganda is still working. And sometimes even we get messages from people in the US like, is it true that in Ukraine there are a lot of Nazi people? I'm like, what the hell are you asking? Like, Russians are killing Ukrainians just because we are Ukrainian and they're using the Z sign and you're searching for Nazi people in Ukraine. It's like, it's still madness, but they heard it from someone, So that's why, spreading the truth is very important.
It's hard, but it kind of like pinpoints the level of how people are willing to believe anything without checking. Because, like, correct me if I'm wrong, but President Zelensky is Jewish.
He is. That's the point. Yes.
Kind of odd if he was like, the front guy of all the Ukrainian Nazis, because it makes no sense. There's like no truth, no sense into these stories. But like you said, everybody needs to be doing something, and you guys are finishing the album. So when is the album coming out?
Well, I cannot disclose like the date because it's going to be through Napalm Records. And when we are making the promo together, they will announce, the date and everything. But we have, our certain deadlines. We're doing what we can step by step because, every album is not only about the audio. It's, you need to do a lot of artwork stuff. You need to film videos and everything. And that is a very complicated thing for us right now. So because 2 weeks ago we couldn't even meet each other, so making a photo shoot together with all the the people involved, it's like super hard. And also, for example, you need to get all the outfits, and for example, in Kiev, the clothing stores are only starting to open up.
Right.
And again, it's still, there are a lot of logistical problems, and we still have air raid sirens every day. So we just decided that we will take it step by step. We will finish the audio, and simultaneously we're working on the artwork for, the album cover. And if at least it doesn't get worse, maybe in May we will try to make some photo shoots. I don't know. It's so hard to predict anything, so we will just try. And again, even if we release an album, we cannot tour at this point because we cannot leave the country. And again, we are needed here. And we haven't toured with our 2 last releases because of COVID. If we take another album without touring, it's going to be, a disaster, especially when the rest of the music industry is slowly, getting back to the live shows.
All right. I think that ran out of my questions. I really appreciate you taking the time.
Thank you.
This is a life-changing podcast for me. I could do this. Yeah.
All day.
Thank you. And before we let you go, can we get a bumper? And when you give the bumper, can you tell people where to go to donate to the band or to
the cause?
The cause.
So basically you can just go to our website, ignea.band, because there you will find all the links that you need, including the link to our Patreon and to the post where we give all the daily updates about the situation in Ukraine. And there you will also find all the links to donate to and all the ways to help Ukraine in this cause.
Hello out there. Yes, hello out there, everyone. I'm Hal Schwartz.
And I'm Flynn McLean. Together we host None But the Brave, a podcast dedicated to the music and career of Bruce Springsteen.
Bruce and E Street Band are on tour right now for the first time in 6 years, and we're taking a detailed look at what's happening on stage in our bi-weekly episodes.
We've also been recently joined by some very exciting guests, including rock journalist Warren Zanes and Stephen Hayden, Backstreet's Magazine founder Charles Cross, and Barstool's Kirk Minahan.
If you're a diehard Springsteen fan, this is the show for you.
So please subscribe to None But the Brave on your favorite podcasting platform, and we hope to see you further on up the road.
Thank you so much. We'll be seeing you.